Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. An OpTic Rostermania story for this season is far from likely to be over as yet, especially if what Karma has to say might well carry some weight as well. He reckons that Ghosty might well be the move, but down the line with Pred and Simp becoming free agents from the Seattle Surge, they've got to consider that potential change. Karma reckons even if they win the World Championship with this current roster, there's a chance they still go for the Pack-a-Punch. Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Plenty to discuss. Thought this was pretty funny from Zini as well, having now retired. Damn, I kind of miss Fortress Control. So, I mean, yeah, whether we'll get any new map in the game that might potentially be able to replace Fortress Control, we shall see. But for now, it's not looking so good. Also, got to share some hilarious challenges beef that I didn't get to discuss yesterday because we ran out of time. But I just wanted to mention it at the start of this video because it's just too funny. So, this guy Conway is talking about this guy D-Mac, who he reckons is 100% cheating. I don't know if this is true or not. Like, I don't see any clips or any evidence or anything. Just wanted to share some funny tweets. World's worst LAN player and the best player I've ever played online. Now, the funny thing about esports is, that I find in general, is that the mothers and fathers of certain players, even like amateur level players, go so hard defending their kids on social media. Like, I respect it to a great degree, but it's always hilarious when you see stuff like this. So Angela, who I'm assuming is D-Mac's mother, so well, Mama Mack, right? He is absolutely not cheating. He can be PC checked. I literally don't give an F. Your son is dog on LAN and unkillable online. So that's the first set of tweets. We then get this set of tweets, which I thought was hilarious. So Angela comes out with this. Some of you'll forget that I came from the hood, but I got that bail money now. I may be 4'11", but I'll throw some hands over my kid. Just kidding, kinda. I don't hold grudges and ever invited him to visit, the guy who was calling him out, so we can put this to rest once and for all. And then this guy comes in, you 4'11", I can make you 5'3". And then DMAC_XX, who I'm guessing is the son's father, right? Because this picture kind of looks like he could be the husband, right? And then he says 4 inches ain't gonna do much for a young man. And then we go on to the final like saga of this shenanigans, which is then Silly. So if you guys know Silly, like there's a bit of trouble with him in COD history. And admittedly, he was asking to get absolutely dunked on here. So Silly comes back and says old ball behavior to say to someone's mother. And then Conway says, you're the last person to be giving advice on how to treat women in the COD community, but I appreciate the input. So, I mean, man, it completely dunked on there, can't lie. And he actually deletes these tweets eventually and says, look, my bad for being disrespectful, but he is cheating respectfully. So, yeah, just nice little fun. I mean, COD is just built different, you know what I mean? Like, you just can't find this stuff anywhere else. It's just pure comedy. Like, imagine not following COD esports, honestly. It's just embarrassing. Let's talk about Doug, though, because on a similar vein, Doug's been going off on the main stage as well. So, we know that way back in the day, if you guys ever saw this clip of Doug versus Karma, they were loading into like an Octane domination or something, and Karma and Doug had this massive like blow up and bust up and back and forth and all this type of stuff. And they kept, you know, Karma was roasting him and Doug was roasting him back. And Doug actually, 10 years later almost, goes into detail on why he got so frustrated and basically says that he was the reason why Karma became the player that he was.
Tell you what to do? Teammates, that's all we are. That's all we are.
I got a 2-piece at their dick, and then...
The second he said this, the only thought in my head was, I'm gonna be petty as this guy. I don't give a that you won the ring this year. I was better than you this year. My team was better than you, and the only reason you won it is because you didn't play my team, because we pre-scrimmed OpTic for a week, and we taught them how to play COD, and then they beat us. So you're welcome for your ring. I was way better than you on this game, and every time I played you, I showed it. I statistically showed it. I beat you every time, and then I picked you up, and I won with you. Dude. So your whole legacy stemmed from me scrimming against OpTic on that game. Your back-to-back world championship, right? So in my head, when he said this, I got petty as I was like, you know what?
David was
Jay,
nice at Ghost, chat.
He was like, you know what? I literally owned you all year, and I'm teaming with you now, and you know what? If you have this opinion on me, I'm going to win a championship with you and look at your face when it happens. That's the only thought that I had in my...
So Doug is saying there that, you know, the fact that Doug scrimmed against OpTic, therefore it helps Karma to get better. Eventually Karma left FaZe and joined OpTic, right, going into the Advanced Warfare season and had the great legacy that Karma had. But, you know, in fairness, right, Karma was already known as a bit of a, you know, stud COD player at that time. He'd already won the World Championship once in Black Ops 2. He'd won it again in Ghost as well. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know, like, is Doug just absolutely going rogue here? Is he spitting facts, or is he just, you know, doing a classic Doug shenanigans where he's bringing up old beefs from like almost a decade ago and saying that he made Karma the player that he was. So I don't know, it seems a bit of Censor impression farming from my perspective, but the clip was pretty funny, so I thought we had to share it, to be honest. Now, speaking of Karma, because I thought we'd have a nice little run in here from the Doug drama, we've got to talk about Karma's opinion, which is always well respected, right? When Karma, 3-time world champion, the only man to have done it all 3 times on LAN, he was on the OpTic Dynasty, he was on the Complexity Dynasty that became Evil Geniuses slightly before that, and his opinion is always well respected. He even said recently when he was talking about coaches, and was like, yeah, my teammates wouldn't always listen to the coach, but if I said something, they would always listen to what I had to say. And Karma's opinion is always held in high esteem for good reason within the community. So Karma was given his thoughts on the OpTic Rostermania. We know that Karma the other day was talking about Huke and some of his plays and saying that his decision making was kind of faded. He was saying it was the last play that you should make in certain situations. That was on the Game 4 aBeZy hardpoint, of course. They ended up losing to Thieves to go out of the tournament at Major 2. So we know that Karma's not been the biggest fan of this Huke decision to bring him into the roster. Now, as it stands, Huke and Shotzzy might work out pretty well. They've got Ghosty there now. They've upgraded their firepower maybe from the AR side. I still think there's a lot of questions to be answered about whether that team can be successful on a consistent basis. But even if they are very successful, is there a pack-a-punch down the line? We know that Pred wants to join OpTic. We believe that he's not so happy with the situation on Seattle Surge. That's what all the indications point towards right now from what we have seen leaked to come out publicly. And of course, OpTic tried to get him. They tried to pay a lot of money to get him off Surge. They maybe even tried to send players the other way because Dashy at that time was on the bench. There were some discussions going on there, I believe. So, I mean, yeah, but it never happened at the end of the day. Surge shut it down. Nothing came to be, but Pred is a free agent, unrestricted. His contract is at an end at the end of the season. And we talked yesterday that probably he's not going to re-sign with Seattle Surge. Maybe they've made a mistake the way they've conducted themselves over the last couple of months. Will he go to OpTic? That, of course, is his preferred option, but also it requires OpTic to want to make a change. Could it even happen before then, depending on the way things go? I think that's not out of the realms of possibility either. But let's say at the end of the World Championship, OpTic have come 4th all year. They're for sure going to make a change. Huke is almost certainly gone for Pred, you would think. If I was the GM, I would try and get Pred and Shotzzy there with Dashy and just, you know, whatever the player in Ghosty's role or iLLeY's role is, just find someone that works there, whether it needs to be an in-game leader, whatever it needs to be. You know, I think that's the plan for this team going forward. It could also be Simp. That's not out of the realms of possibility either. You could bring him over from Surge as well. That's been what some have considered. And this is what Karma says on their roster situation, right? He's like, look, no matter what they do from now to the end of the year, despite if they have a lot of success, they've still got to consider the fact that Pred and Simp will be available and make that move almost regardless of whether they win the World Championship or not.
You know, fail to at least place top 3 these, what is it? Major 3 events, these next 3 events. You got to think you have your eyes on Pred and Simp, right? If they're free, like, are they free? Like, it's just like, it's kind of like a no-brainer. And I feel like if that's the case, it's like almost guaranteed. Like, it's got to be, right? They're free?
Get through. Give me the back one here. I got one more on me.
Yeah, I don't know. Unless OpTic wins champs, that's probably the play. And then even then, dude, I mean, I don't know if you pass that up. I don't know if you pass that up, even if you win champs. Hey, and that's crazy to say, but I don't know.
So what do you guys think about this, right? And it feels bad for Huke in a way, the fact that, like, you know, it's months away from the World Championship, but people already seem to believe, and I think for understandable reasons, that Huke might not be on this team going into 2024 and is going to get dropped for Pred at some point or another. So, you know, the pressure's on Huke to perform, but also the pressure is on the entire team to, you know, prove that they don't necessarily need to make a change down the line regardless, because Zio with Huke, Shotzzy and iLLeY obviously didn't last particularly long with the trio, so who's to say it's going to last particularly long with this duo coming back into action as well, with, you know, let's just say that the mini-map mistakes that Huke sometimes makes that have been discussed for several years at this point. And also, you know, okay, Pred is an upgrade in firepower. Is everything going to be guaranteed to be unbelievable in that team if Pred joins? Not necessarily, but, you know, there's still that third role where Ghosty currently sits that could potentially be swapped out to make the team work with Shotzzy, Pred, and Dashy, and maybe that fourth man is Simp, I don't know. But Karma reckons, yeah, make the change at some point, regardless of what happens. Don't know what you guys think. Like, how successful successful would OpTic have to be to not make a change going into next season? And we don't know, honestly, right now, whether it is a 2-year cycle anymore, whether it's only a 1-year cycle, and we're getting a new game next year. But let's say they won the World Championship on this game and kind of dominated it, which is unlikely, but whatever. Let's say they dominated the World Championship this year. Pred is available, Sim is available. They want to come to OpTic, let's say, in this world. Will OpTic make a change at that point, especially if... Now, if we're going into a brand new title, I can understand you make the change. If it's the same title again and you've just won the World Championship and you're playing the same exact game next year, like, it seems outrageous to make that move, right? But maybe it could still happen. Karma said, you know what, even if they win champs, I mean, that would be a remarkable timeline if OpTic were to win champs and then Huke still gets dropped. But Karma reckons it's actually likely, and I wouldn't rule it out entirely, especially if, let's say they come like 3rd or 4th or something at the next few events, then they win champs. And it's not exactly a fluke, but it felt like a run that was unlikely to be repeated, let's say, then, you know, maybe they do still make that move, because the issue is, obviously Pred wants to join OpTic. This is the chance to get him in the off-season. He fits very well with the culture of OpTic and all this type of stuff as well. He obviously wants to be there. OpTic wants him there, all these questions. But if they decide to stick with Huke and not get Pred onto the team, then Pred's obviously going to sign a Supermax somewhere else, maybe at Thieves, maybe even at FaZe. I don't know. I mean, that'd be a crazy world. I wish that would happen. But, you know, some other organization's going to get Pred and going to lock him down to a serious deal, at which point OpTic then, you know, stuck in a bit of a predicament. So, yeah, it's a pretty crazy timeline to even consider the possibility of OpTic winning champs and making a roster change. But if Karma believes that they can even win champs and make a change, it almost guarantees that if they don't win champs, they'll bring Pred in, which I think is probably likely as well. So, yeah, what would you guys do with the roster? It feels bad for Huke in a way, because he's not performed badly, I don't think. He's made some bad decisions, but he's also made some great decisions and some game-winning plays as well. But already the community seems to believe that Huke is, it's literally a ticking time bomb until Pred's contract expires, at which point, you know, Huke just gets dropped immediately, and it's been made clear by all parties that was going to happen, and then Huke kind of, you know, got bailed out, I guess, in a way, by Surge backing down from their decision to make the deal, because otherwise Huke would not have been on OpTic at all, and who knows where he would have been, given the fact that Los Angeles Guerrillas released him as unrestricted, implying that they didn't really expect anyone to sign him and paid them a particular buyout. I do hope, of course, this works out for Ghosty, but, you know, as it stands, I know that some people are giving, you know, a lot of criticism from, I saw some videos from Enable and from Slacked and from others discussing the fact that, you know, the idea of not having like an IGL on this team doesn't seem like necessarily the way to go. So, you know, maybe it'll work out. It's one of these situations where the team has like massive upside OpTic. It's almost what they had before, but they, you know, there is the possibility, I think, with this Ghosty move that their ceiling went up, but potentially their floor went down, which, you know, maybe that'll work one weekend and then another weekend they get bodied. We'll see how it goes. Speaking of Ghosty, though, I've got to share these clips as we close out the video. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. So Dan Ghosty has been apparently on a rampage since he was about 13 years old back in Advanced Warfare, when every player that it was notable that he gunned back in the day, he wrote a list of players that, you know, he has on his list that he checks every single day to keep himself motivated. Apparently Octane is on said list, even from back then, despite not even knowing the guy back then. Of course, he's still a young player, and Advanced Warfare was almost a decade ago at this point. So I've got to share this clip for you guys as we close out the video, but very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, take care, and I'll see you next time.
Cringe. I'm trying to play Hogwarts. Tyler, what's this guy's list, bro? What is he talking about?
Bro, Dan's crazy, dude.
I know.
He actually has a list from AW of a whole bunch of people that he, like, used to shit on, quote unquote, and he, like, has it written down, and he looks at that list every day before he plays.
AW?
From AW.
He was in diapers when I played AW.
He has a vendetta against you, Clay. He had one against Jared. He actually hit Jared offline in AW. Or
Wait, how old is he?
His team did. Dan,
how old is Dan?
He played AW when he was like 13.
Bro, this guy's doing middle school math and he has a vendetta against me?
Yes, dude. You're on his list, bro.